I'm Dom Pernay. Today, we are going to introduce Sage Intacct Real Estate. First, let's discuss the markets that Sage Intacct Real Estate best serves. From a commercial standpoint, we certainly serve the office and industrial space, as well as retail, whether it be a regional mall or a strip center. From a residential perspective, we serve all three main spaces for market rate rentals, both multifamily and single family, affordable housing capabilities, and also condo co-op management. What makes Sage Intacct Real Estate different is its lease-based structure. As you can see from the screen that we have in front of us here today, everything is centered around the lease. When I first helped design this system as the product director for Sage Intacct Real Estate, it was very important to me that we were lease-based. There are a lot of systems out there, and a number of them are tenant-based. You create a property, section it into units, and then move tenants in and out of units. I always felt that in the real estate space, we administered the lease, and it was best to put that lease at the center of the system, because this way we're able to administer to all the different features and functions within that lease. So what we've done is we create a property, we section it into units, we have a separate database of tenants, and then we use the lease to draw them together. This allows us to have a scenario of one tenant with multiple spaces, easily accommodated, and in a commercial environment where that tenant has different rent information and option information and common area maintenance clauses per space, we can identify all of those per space. Similarly, we can have multiple tenants in one space. With the advent of COVID-19, we have seen quite a bit of sublease space become available in the market. Sage Intacct Real Estate's lease-based architecture allows us to make sure that those sublease tenants are administered correctly. We're able to identify the primary lessee and sublessee. We might only track contact information, or we might bill out various work orders or even rent if that's the way you'd like to administer the lease. And certainly from a residential perspective, the ability to have multiple residents within one unit is certainly a great feature to have. So, having introduced the product, now let's jump into a quick live presentation. So the first thing I always like to discuss is our dashboards. Sage Intacct is a web-based SaaS platform, so no servers needed, access to it from anywhere, anytime in the world. And what you notice when you look at a dashboard is we have at the very top these white cards. These are called performance cards, and they allow you to create the metrics that are important to you. So if I want to look at my rental income and compare that to budget, I can do that. What's happened to accounts receivable this month and cash balance this month. And everywhere that's highlighted in blue, there are drill downs available. I can also then look at a list of the properties within my portfolio, whether it be mine as an asset manager or property manager, or my entire company's. And it shows me the name of the property, the address, what type of property it is, how many units it has, square footage, when did we acquire it, what's the value of that property on our balance sheet currently, if we have debt on the property, what is the debt we hold, and what is the interest rate and lender. Now, if these are interest-only loans, we won't see these note payable balances change. However, if there is principal and interest allocated accordingly, then those loan balances will reduce as time goes on. We also have the ability to look at a property expense graph in a waterfall method. And so what this does is maybe the property owner allows me to see out of my 1.2 million in expenses, what's recoverable and what isn't. And all of these are based upon user-defined general ledger groupings. So you're not stuck with what somebody thinks you might want to see. You can easily architect this information to look the way you'd like. So I can see pretty quickly here, I've got depreciation and amortization, and I'm not going to be able to recover those as part of my common area expenses. So therefore, I see exactly what my exposure is. That's one simple example of a dashboard. Another example allows me to go in and see a dashboard from the standpoint of financial reporting. This allows me to see everything out here with those performance cards, once again, front and center. What is my rent and how does that compare to last month? And as I mentioned, I can always drill in and see the detail. So if I'd like to continue to drill in and see exactly what goes on here, I can easily drill all the way down to the detailed transaction along with the tenant that was affected. So I can see what property, what tenant, and what type of charge it was that was coded to this account. Very easy for me to get to that level of detail. We also have dimension-based reporting within Sage Intacct, and that goes as well for Sage Intacct Real Estate. We stamp every transaction with the entity, the property, the tenant, and even the lease. So I can see down to a lease level that detailed impact on my financial statements or any other reports for that matter. So it's very easy for me to go in and look at this for a different period of time, maybe the end of August, and now redraw that report for me that way. I can also look at it for a group of properties, maybe a portfolio or an individual property if that's what I'd like to do. And then all the way down to a lease level where I'm able to drill in on one given lease as of August to see exactly what happened this month in those performance cards, as well as from a financial reporting perspective. And all of this is based upon the idea that what we're able to do is drill into that detailed lease. So we do establish a group of properties. And of course, I've got the ability to sort and do contain searches and so on. Section those properties into units where I can see all the details of those units. And then all of the tenants that I might have within the system. I then bring all of that information together at the lease. And it's at the lease that it allows me to go in and build all of the details to administer that contract. So I can look at the tenant. In this case, there's only one. Once again, we can add additional tenants if needed. And what unit or units they have. So in our scenario here, this tenant occupies an office suite along with a parking space. When did the lease start and end? When did move-in take place? And of course, I can attach various documents like the lease itself and space plans and things like that. I then build all the detailed recurring charges. So I can go in under their rent charge and identify as of what date, what happens with their rent schedule, and how often is it charged. And from a recovery perspective, now we get to drill in on the details. How often do we reconcile this recovery? What expense categories would we like to pull over? And these are the tenant-facing names. They do not have to match what's inside the general ledger because I have the ability to call this utilities and then identify the total square footage from the unit over the total square footage from the property, or we can simply key in a manual percentage because we've all seen those leases where they don't always follow the exact pro rata share. Then I can identify all of the different GL expenses that I'd like to have fall underneath that line. And don't think you have to do this for each and every lease. We have templates available. So you can build a template, map your general ledger accounts, copy that over to your lease, and then make adjustments where necessary. And of course, we accommodate stops, caps, base years, along with different methods of whether they be dollars per square foot or flat dollar amounts. So all of that is available at the lease level, along with tracking how to bill late fees, security deposits with interest calculated, tenant certificates of insurance, and we have this ability inside Sage Intacct to have what are called smart events. This allows us to have the system do automatic emails to the tenant and copy the property manager about an upcoming expiration on a certificate of insurance that's part of their lease requirements. The same thing with lease options. All different types of lease options are available. When would you like the system to notify you, and who should be notified? And of course, we allow those options to be on any property in your portfolio. So if you have a suburban office complex where someone has a right of first refusal on an office across the parking lot, no problem. Easy to establish and carry that all the way through. All of this with very simple and easy to use reporting. So I have the ability to come in and grab one property or a group of properties, the date I'd like to see this as of, and simply view it to the screen, generate it to a PDF or an Excel file, and now I see all the details for this lease inside this rent roll. So I see the total property charges, how many units are occupied, how many are vacant, total square footage, total vacant units, and then all of the details for each individual suite as we go, including the next bump up that's due to happen. Well, I hope you have found this informational. It's our goal here with Sage Intacct Real Estate to make sure that you're able to follow through the setup of the property, the unit, the tenant, generate our lease, our first of the month billings, management fees, late fees, all sorts of reporting available as well. So thanks very much for your time. My contact information is at the bottom, and I hope you found this informational, and we look forward to hearing from you.